There's a moment first thing in the morning before everything else begins, before you check your phone, before the obligations of the day assert themselves, and before the mind is filled with the voices and demands and information that will occupy the day ahead. A window of maybe 10 or 15 minutes in which the day is still unwritten and the mind is still, relatively, its own. The Stoics knew this moment, they valued it highly, and they used it in a specific way. Not for planning, not for productivity, and not for anything that would look impressive on a productivity checklist. They used it for a philosophical orientation, for asking before the day gets going what kind of person they intended to be in that day. Marcus Aurelius, managing an empire under plague and war, began each day with a practice that survived in a piecemeal way across his notebooks. Epictetus taught his students to spend the morning not with their work but with their principles. Seneca's letters are full of advice about what the first hours of the day should contain, and more importantly, what they should not. The Stoic Morning Review is not a morning routine in the modern sense. It's not a sequence of habits engineered for peak performance. It's a philosophical practice, a daily act of deliberate self-orientation that determines not what you'll accomplish, but how you will meet whatever arrives. That distinction between optimizing for accomplishment and preparing for encounter is what this whole episode is about. Welcome back to the Stoic Mind Mechanic. My name is Tim Howell. In our last episode, we explored Stoic journaling, the evening practice of honest self-examination that forms one half of the Stoic daily discipline. In the evening, you write your audit, the audit of the day, your own mind. You audit your own mind with genuine rigour. Today, we're going to cover the other half, the morning review. The practice that if you think of the evening as the reckoning, the morning is the intention. We'll look at what the Stoics actually did in the morning, what the philosophical purpose of the practice is, and how to build a morning review that's actually useful rather than just being another item on a self-improvement to-do list that does nothing other than produce guilt when missed and complacency when completed. Let's begin with an important morning text from Book 2 of the Meditations. This is what Marcus wrote to himself, or perhaps reminded himself of, at the beginning of some of his most demanding days. Now, it's got two parts that are both essential, but are frequently separated by popular quotation, which is a serious distortion of the full meaning. So here it is. This is what Marcus writes. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself that the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are this way because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in their ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are unnatural obstructions. Now, if you read only the first sentence, as is so often quoted, you have something that sounds a bit like cynicism. A man bracing for a day of difficult people with a kind of world-weary resignation. But if you read it in full, it says something else entirely. The passage moves from honest, unsentimental anticipation, yes, people will be difficult today, to a philosophical reorientation that arrives at solidarity, even love. That difficult people share my nature. They share my capacity for reason. They stray from the proper course because they don't yet see clearly, not because they are my enemy. And to obstruct them, to feel contempt for them, or to harden myself against them, is an unnatural response. The natural response should be cooperation. So this is the Stoic Morning Review in miniature. It's not positive thinking. It's not the instruction to pretend that people are not going to be difficult. It is the practice of preparing yourself honestly about what's coming and with philosophical thought and how to deal with it so that when the difficulty arrives, it arrives into a mind that's already prepared, already clear, and already grounded in its own values, rather than being reactive to circumstance. I want to say something about the commercial morning routine industry because although this episode exists inside that context, it needs to be clearly distinguished from it. There is a plethora of popular self-help paid-for programs that treat the morning as a productivity asset to be maximised. Get up at 5, have a cold shower, 40 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of journaling, 15 minutes of reading, meditation, visualisation of the day's goals. And all of this before 7 a.m. in the service of performing at a higher level, achieving more and becoming the kind of person whose morning routine signals their intent and purpose. The Stoic Morning Review is not that. The Stoic Morning Review is not concerned with your performance. It's not designed to help you accomplish more. It's designed to help you be more deliberate, more consistent with your own values, more aware of what the day is actually asking of you, rather than what your ambitions are asking of it. The difference is this. A performance morning routine treats the day as a resource to be exploited for maximum output. The Stoic Morning Review treats the day as an encounter with people, with circumstances, with yourself, encounters that you have an opportunity to meet well or poorly. The question is not how do I get the most out of today? The question is who do I want to be today? Now that's a completely different question. It has different implications for how the morning is spent and it produces a different kind of person. The Stoic Morning Review is not about optimizing performance, it's about orienting character, setting the inner conditions for a day to be lived with intention rather than reaction. Drawing from Stoic sources such as the Meditations, the Discourses and Seneca's letters, the Morning Review has 5 main elements, not 5 steps to be done in sequence like a recipe, but 5 dimensions of a single practice that the 15 minutes should contain. With time and practice, you'll eventually move between these steps naturally. So the first step is stillness before content. Before anything else, before reading, before planning, before the phone, just take a minute of stillness. Not meditation in any formal sense, simply the deliberate choice to be present before the day has begun to take over. Marcus describes this as the discipline of the first waking moment, to be aware before acting that you are about to begin a day that will make demands and that you've got something to deal with those demands. Step 2, honest anticipation. So following Marcus's model, what is actually ahead today? Not an idealized calendar, but the real day with its real difficulties. The conversation you've been avoiding or the colleague who tests your patience. The decision that's no clean answer. Identify them all. The purpose of this isn't to produce dread, but to prevent surprise. To meet difficulty as something that you've already considered rather than something that ambushes you. The third step is philosophical reorientation. So for each anticipated difficulty, ask who you want to be in that, not what you want to achieve from it. If the difficult conversation is ahead, then what virtue does it ask of you? Is it courage to say the true thing? Is it justice to hear the other person fully? Or is it temperance to resist the reactive response you know is waiting? The morning is the time to decide this in advance, when you're not yet affected by the emotional impact of the event itself. The fourth step is the dichotomy check. For the most challenging or potentially volatile items on the day's horizon, run the dichotomy check. What's within your control? What's not? Where are you most likely to end up investing energy in the uncontrollable? Identify it now when you have time to choose rather than discovering it later when the investment's already been made and the energy wasted. And the fifth step is one intention. So close the morning review with a single specific intention for the day. Not a goal, but a genuine intention, not something task-based like, I will finish the report, but something more like, I will be patient in the meeting even when it gets repetitive or avoids the main points. Or I will say the thing I have been avoiding saying to the person who needs to hear it. Make that one sentence specific enough that at the end of the day, you'll know whether you've achieved it or not. So, 5 elements simply: stillness, honest anticipation, philosophical reorientation, dichotomy check, and one intention. Marcus's morning practice has the quality of a man finding his footing before a demanding day. Epictetus's approach to the morning is characteristically more direct. In the discourses, he tells his students to begin the day not by reviewing what they plan to do, but by reviewing what they plan to be. The question is not what the agenda holds. The question is what the agenda will ask of your character and whether your character is ready for it. So he says, every morning decide in advance what sort of person you intend to be. What decisions will you face today? And in those decisions, what will wisdom look like? What will cowardice look like? Name them both, then choose. Name them both. This is the Epictetan quality that is mostly missing from modern morning routines. The honest identification of the cowardly option alongside the courageous one. Most morning visualization practices imagine only the desired outcomes, the successful conversation, the held boundary, the difficult thing said well. Epictetus insists that you also need to imagine the failure, not to expect it, but to recognize it and to know what it looks like so that you can see it coming in the moment and choose the better option. So this is negative visualization applied to the morning review. Not imagining the loss of things, but imagining the failure of character and choosing in advance to meet that failure with the full weight of your philosophical intention. It takes perhaps 30 seconds and costs nothing, and it changes the nature of the decision when it arrives from a choice made under pressure, in the moment with all the distortion that pressure produces, to the execution of a decision already made in conditions of clarity and calm. The question I get asked most often about morning practices is, how long should it take? And the honest answer is, long enough to be genuine, but short enough to be sustainable. For most people, in most circumstances, that means 10 to 15 minutes. Long enough to move through the 5 elements with real attention, but short enough that a busy morning doesn't crowd it out entirely. The single most important structural decision is where to place it time-wise. The Stoic Morning Review is at its most powerful in the window between waking and the first external demand of the day, before the phone, before the news, before the first email or message. Not because those things are bad in themselves, but because they start to distract your mind before you've had the chance to set your own direction. The person who checks their phone first thing in the morning and then tries to practice philosophical orientation is like someone who tries to navigate by compass after standing next to a magnet. All the reference points have been contaminated. So from a practice point of view, you need to decide where the morning review will happen. The same chair, the same window, the same cup of something warm, if that helps. The physical consistency anchors your mental practice. Your nervous system learns that this place and time mean a particular quality of attention. That association built over weeks makes the practice self-reinforcing. And on those mornings when you can only spare 3 minutes instead of 15, because we all have those mornings, you need to know what the minimum viable version is. For me, it's this: 1 sentence of honest anticipation and 1 intention. 30 seconds. Still the bare bones of the practice, which is still better than the alternative of starting off your day reactive and unoriented. The minimum viable morning review: 1 honest sentence about what today will actually ask of you, and 1 specific intention for who you will be in it. I want to draw together the evening journaling practice from the previous video and the morning practice from this one, because their relationship is not just sequential, it's the interaction of opposites. The evening audit asks, who was I today? And the morning review asks, who will I be today? And between those 2 questions, held faithfully night after night, morning after morning, a conversation develops. a conversation between the person you have been and the person you're trying to become. The evening journal reveals the gap. The morning sets the intention to close that gap, and the next evening will reveal whether that gap has closed or widened, and so on. This is what Marcus Aurelius was doing across the years of the meditations, not achieving mastery and then recording it, but engaging daily in this conversation with himself about what he had been and what he aspired to be. The notebooks are not a record of a polished philosophical self. They are the texture of a philosophical self in formation. And that formation never finished because it was never supposed to. The practice is the point. The conversation is the destination. Marcus comments, "On those mornings when you are dull and unwilling to rise, let this thought be present. I rise to do the work of a human being." The work of a human being. Not the work of an emperor, not the work of a philosopher, the work of a human being available to anyone who chooses it on any morning under any circumstances. So, your practice from this episode: tomorrow morning, before anything else, spend 5 minutes with the practice, just 5. 1 minute of stillness, 2 minutes of honest anticipation of the day, and 1 intention, written or spoken, aloud. And then get on with it. Don't wait for the perfect morning. There is never a perfect morning. In our next episode, we explore voluntary discomfort, the Stoic practice of deliberately seeking out difficulty and deprivation in small, regular doses as a way of building resilience, deepening gratitude, and testing whether your inner freedom is real or merely the product of having never been tested. It's one of the most counterintuitive and most powerful practices in the Stoic toolkit. So I hope you'll join me for it. If you've enjoyed this episode and got something from it, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow. Or if there's someone else in your life who starts every day reactive, overwhelmed, and always behind the 8 ball, share the video with them. 5 minutes at the right moment can change the quality of an entire day. So keep calm, keep stoic, and I'll see you in the next one.